As promised, we're back with both Tyne and Carolyn Seymore, who are starring in the LA production of Skirmishes. And now we'll find out what Skirmishes is all about. Hello, Carolyn.
Hello.
So tell us, what is Skirmishes?
Well, I'll do my bit and then Tyne can do hers.
That's why we planned it for the both of you to be out here together to talk about it.
We think it's two different plays, you see. So.
No, we don't. No, we don't. No, that's not true. That's not true. They won't come if they. No, it's really about two sisters who come back. I mean, I play the sister who has stayed away from home because she doesn't want to be with her mother anymore. And when she dies, eventually through guilt, she returns to be with her mum. You see. And Jean, my sister over here, she doesn't like me very much. So we have this sort of interaction.
She's the one who's been on the spot with a mother who's been very ill for a long time, and she has been taking care of Mom at home and been unable to get her awful sister.
Do you do an American accent, or do you do an English accent?
Well, it's an English play. We both reached there from
Tyne does this wonderful North Country accent.
Oh, you do?
Oh, wonderful.
Sometimes.
She's convinced me that maybe I should have a go at the American. I mean, if she can do it, I can do, you know. I mean, it's wonderful.
North Country is it's fun.
It's fun to do, you know. Go on, do some more, do some more.
I don't know what to say.
Say a line.
You're doing very well. Oh, we could do anything you wanted. No, we weren't doing anything.
We got to tip and tap. It's an accent that I've attempted before in a play called Ashes that I did at the Mark Taper, and with the help of Miss Seymore and Ian McShane, who made a tape for us because he was in the production at the Matrix Theaters on Melrose. Has a lovely reputation in this city, and they did a production of Betrayal that Ian McShane was in, who's an English actor, and so he made a tape for us that we studied as well. Get our sounds down.
Because he comes from Manchester himself, you see, so
yes.
he gave us the...
Do you ever lose it, like, during the course of the play?
I think we've managed to be pretty consistent.
She doesn't lose it, no. I mean, you know, so I'm the trouble there, but no. No,
You've been struggling with it right now.
You know, you're very well known in London, and working on it over here now. A movie of yours has just been re-released. The Ruling Class.
Oh, good, you're going to mention that.
Yeah,
The Ruling Class. The Ruling Class.
O'Toole.
Yes.
Yes, which was done how long ago?
11 years ago. 11 years ago.
To see because we now have 2 days off before we have to play the play again. I haven't had a chance to see it.
It's a wonderful movie.
Why have they re-released it, do you know?
Well, partly because it's a wonderful movie. It's a classic, it's a cult movie, and it came out too early. But it's a wonderfully funny black comedy. It's beautifully written. A man called Peter Barnes. It's beautifully written by him, and Peter O'Toole is quite wonderful in it.
Isn't, we're all going to have to go see it now. Have they re-released it all over the country, do you?
Yes, they have now.
Yeah,
they have now. It's slowly, I mean, it did so well in New York, and now it's done so well here that they're now...
in its full length, right, and not cut up.
Yes, there was a bit that was cut up. It was a little rude at the beginning.
Do you find a lot of difference between the entertainment industry here as opposed to England?
Yes. Well, there's more of it here, really, and it's quicker.
How do you mean?
Everything moves faster here. I mean, television is done faster, and the theater is the thing where I find most difference, really. It's a much more relaxed process there. I mean, back at home.
Have you run into any barriers out here, like trying to get work in TV?
Being English, really. English.
Is it really?
Yes, no, it's a huge barrier.
You've done a great slug of jobs this season.
I have done an enormous amount of jobs, but I mean, that's one of the things is that I used to be very arrogant about not doing the American, which was just my way of saying I didn't want to say I was too frightened to do the American. And everybody said, but you've got to do American. And also, I mean, one of my things was that for 12 years, I was acting as an English person, and to come over here and then pretend that I was an American seemed a little ridiculous, especially if the other movies came over here, and like The Ruling Class, I mean, you know.
Yeah. Have you made your home over here now?
Yes, I live here now.
She was on the show. She was on CAGNEY and LACEY this season with us, which is where we first met.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes.
What did you play? Did you arrest her or anything?
No, she played a literary agent? No.
No, I was an operatic agent.
An
operatic agent I was. And I had been raped 3 years previously, and I hadn't said anything to anyone. And then Tyne and Sharon...
She spilled to CAGNEY and LACEY.
Oh, literally, I spilled in the sea.
What do you think of American television?
Excuse me?
What do you...
No, I mean, I quite enjoy some of it. I mean, it is done very fast, though, and I think that's one of the...
Well, you don't have as much of it over there, though.
No, we don't. I mean, there are less people.
TV comes on.
There's such an enormous amount of product made here, and most of it's sort of regular.
And of course,
some of it's
now
good.
with cable, let's face it, you know, you're talking 50, 60 channels, mostly 24 hours a day. So
it's crazy trying to make
you'd think there'd be a lot of work out there.
There is. I mean, there will be in the next. I mean, there will be an enormous amount of work, but there's a lot now. But it all follows a sort of genre. I mean, it's all the action stuff which works, and we don't have as much of that.
The car chases.
The car chases, and
You don't have a Dukes of Hazzard in England.
I don't think so.
No.
I don't.
Dukes of Hazzard itself, right?
Yes. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of Dukes of Hazzard sitting
The
around here.
Dukes. Oh, there go the Dukes of Hazzard.
Funny couple, on.
Oh, those crazy old Dukes. And there's the Duchess, or whatever.
The Duchess.
No, the Duchess.
The Duke of
The
Earl.
Duchesses are their kids. Oh, they're the Dukettes. Whatever.
Yes.
I'm going out there now. You were in Chicago with Richard Dreyfuss.
Yes,
in a
indeed.
play called Miss Julie.
Yes, indeed.
And you collapsed on stage.
Well, yes, I did. I mean, this is absolutely true. I was rather ill at that time with a killing disease called anorexia nervosa, and I refused to pay any attention to it. And I truly collapsed. I fainted on stage, and then when I came off, I found that I was paralyzed from the waist down.
God.
Because I hadn't eaten anything for a very long time, and I wasn't taking any forms of minerals or anything.
Do you know how interested people are in America about that disease, about anorexia?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And when it was first sort of talked about, it was really relegated to the Twiggy syndrome. I mean, everyone thought that it was just teenagers, and it's not true. I mean, it affects much older people too. I mean, at that time I was 27 and had just had 2 children, so.
And what, did you just try to diet and you just quit eating?
No, it's much worse than that.
Right?
It's much worse than that. I was pregnant with my first child. I did not want to put on weight, and what happened was that I found that I physically could not put food into my mouth. It just went to cardboard. I mean, I couldn't swallow, and I just couldn't eat, and I never felt hungry. And then, of course, you get this extraordinary sense of well-being after a while. If you haven't eaten for about a week, you get this extraordinary buzz, and you're very clear, and you have an enormous amount of energy.
But how long does that last?
Well, eventually you burn out.
Until you
collapse on stage. Absolutely. I mean, I was rushed into the trauma center, and they filled every vein with glucose and various bits and pieces, and I could literally feel it just rushing through my body, the feeling of,
God.
you know.
What weight did you get down to and all that?
At that point, I was probably about 98 pounds, I think.
My God. What about your friends? You always wonder why your friends and family don't say, hey, there's something
Oh, they
wrong.
did. Of course they did. Of course they did. They used to hand me, I mean, meals all the time. I mean, they would either feed me 5 small meals or they'd feed me 10 small meals, and there was always an available dog or a cat or a trash bin or something. I mean, there was always something that I could get rid of. I mean, I never ate it. You get very devious. You get very clever.
Yeah. And how long did all that last?
In total about, I suppose about 3 years.
That long. And how, after you went into the hospital, and then you started...
I didn't stop then. That didn't stop it.
She was a very determined lady.
I was a very determined lady, and in fact, what happened eventually was that somebody, a very clever friend of mine, started leaving books about anorexia nervosa around, and I really began to read all about it, and I began to feel very foolish, and I realized that there was only one way to cure it, and that was through me. And I slowly began literally eating it. I mean, I just started keeping food down, and I would sneak biscuits and cheese every so often, and eventually I actually cured myself.
So it is, they say it's all psychological.
It is psychological, and I find also that when I'm under extreme stress, it comes back. I mean, I've lost a bit of weight doing this play, but I mean, now that I've gotten over the hump, I'll start eating again. I mean, I'm going out to dinner tonight. I'm going to eat a lot, too.
Big, thick steaks, tons of potatoes.
No, that's not quite it, actually, Bill. It's more as a light, varied dinner of sushi, really. But it does. I mean, it has changed now. I mean, it's totally changed, and it is possible. And
well,
one
good.
can stay, I mean, I'm not exactly gross now, so one can eat normally and stay thin. people who are out there who feel that they have a problem. I mean, you can do it.
The exercise, eat and exercise.
Well, I didn't even do that
No?
much, you know. I used to, and I stayed basically the same weight, so I gave that up. It was a little
Well, heck, if you're
tedious.
not gaining any weight, why worry about it? Well, back to skirmishes. It's going to run indefinitely?
We play a split week with another play that's at the theater called Eminent Domain until July. Yes?
July 3rd, yes.
July 3rd.
And then what?
And who knows?
Well, who knows, indeed.
Yeah.
You
You don't
know?
have anything lined up, TV, films, anything like that?
She's got a gig.
Yes, I do. I have a gig. I'm
I do
doing
not.
in the middle of this
I'm
run.
available.
Okay.
Time's available, everybody.
What will you be doing?
I'm doing a movie of the week called Death Ride to Osaka, which is it's in fact based on a true story. It's about the American entertainers, young girls who go out to Japan who are on a contract to perform out there, and then they end up being dragged into the vice ring.
Okay.
And it's a true story.
All right, so we'll see you in that and in skirmishes if you're here in town. Thanks for being with us.
It's a pleasure.
Our pleasure.
And Carolyn, thank you. And Michael Medved will be here to review Space Hunter.